Welcome to the Treaty One Nation and Winnipeg Art Gallery Past, Present, and Future panel series. I'm your host, adelinebird. August 3rd, 2021 marks 150 years of the signing of Treaty One. The Treaty One Nation, along with the T1, DC, TRCM, and Parks Canada will be hosting the 150th Treaty One commemoration. This panel series will be a three-part series focusing on the past, present, and future of Treaty One. So far, we have done past and we have present. If you haven't already checked out those interviews, make sure to head over to the website and check out both those interviews. They're amazing. We got the opportunity to interview two elders, and two chiefs. So make sure to check out those interviews. So we're here to ask our guests questions and their answers. And today we are in future, and we are here with Promise Keepers Jaiden Roberts and emiliemckinney. Thank you so much. Do you both want to just introduce yourself? We'll start with you, Jaiden.
Great. Well, I guess my name is Jaiden Roberts, and I'm on the Promise Keepers Council, and I'm a representative from Rosal River. And right now I'm just a university student, and yeah.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is emiliemckinney. I'm from Swan Lake First Nation. I am a part of the Promise Keepers Council, and I'm also the owner of Anishinaabe Bimishimo. We manufacture jingle dress cones here in right outside of my community. And I'm also the Economic Development Officer for Treaty One. So I'm really happy to be here.
This first question is for Jaiden. Can you describe how you think Treaty One will shape our future generations?
Treaty One as a whole, there's 7 different reservations. Through the reservations, we created Treaty One Nation. So through Treaty One Nation, they are working to develop economically and through projects like the Kapiong Barracks, so that there are future, I guess, prosperity in a way for the youth to be able to come to the community that's being built in Kapiong Barracks to connect with their culture, like through like the traditional ceremony, like grounds that will be created, and I guess promise like being able to be, I guess, for example, like through me, I'm able to intern with Treaty One, so that there are just many opportunities that are going to be created through Treaty One Nation. And the youth from the 7 generations can prosper from it through the endeavors and projects that are just, I guess, being created.
So Emily, my next question is for you. And thank you for your answer, by the way. Looking at the next 150 years, how do you feel the treaties will be fulfilled as intended at the signing in 1871?
Okay, so the treaties, within the next 150 years, the treaties will be fulfilled as intended as long as both sides, both parties, the British Crown and the Treaty First Nations, keep their promises. When the treaties were first signed, we both had, intentions, and one of the intentions was a promise to coexist, a promise for peace so that we wouldn't go at war, but also, to be able to share resources and to be able to live on land. I guess to be able to live on land peacefully, right? So one of the major things, in the intent is the major things that we must do from now and for future generations to come is to keep those promises. When the treaties were first signed, we created a relationship solidified through ceremony and through we created a relationship solidified through ceremony and through feast. It wasn't just, a one-day celebration. It was multiple days too. And there wasn't just, a few people that came together. There was thousands of us, all of us. There was our elders, our clan mothers were there, our warriors, our children. Everyone was there because treaties deals with everyone, every single one of us. We are all important. We are all treaty people. And not only that, but our leadership, our chiefs that did sign the treaties, they smoked their pipes. And in the treaty written document, it mentions our ceremonies, it mentions our pipes and everything. And when we smoke that pipe, when we smoke our pipes, that the reason that we smoke our pipe lasts forever. We don't forget. And I guess that's why there's this saying, as long as the grass grows, the sun shines and the river flows, that's as long as we'll have treaty. And, if you really want to explain that meaning, it's forever, right? I hope that answers the question.
Yes, it does. Thank you so much, Emily. So my next question is for the both of you. So don't fight over who wants to answer first. Can you share with us some of the oral teachings you received from family members and knowledge keepers?
Honest, I'm not as connected as I guess I should be, but that's just due to what has all happened to our people. There's a lot of severed ties and stuff, but since being on the Promise Keepers Council, I was invited to come and listen to meetings that they had sometimes, and I actually got to listen to one knowledge keeper, I think at the beginning of this month or so, but she had some interesting teachings, I guess you would say. Well, of course you would say. But I guess it's really eye-opening, and it's very, I don't want to sound corny, but it's just, I don't know, it means a lot to hear about how the elders, I guess, view our world, and view of course, like what the treaty really means. And it's not just, a negotiation or like a paper signed, like, and it means so much more, I guess. And it kind of gives you, I guess, some kind of sense of purpose, if you want to make it sound really corny. But that's my take on it. And I guess just hearing from the elders and stuff is really memorable. So that's my take.
Is there a specific teaching that really just gravitates towards you? Or stuck with you?
I guess I feel like that's kind of hard to answer, but the teaching that I had listened to was just basically about I guess how our people are adaptable, and talking about how I guess for some reason, I don't know if it sounds right, but like about nature, and like about like I guess it was just kind of brief. It didn't go exactly like straight into it. It was kind of covering all bases, which is like what I need, because it's kind of like an introductory into everything. But yeah, that's as much as I can answer the question for right now. I don't think I've found my favorite teaching, but I hope to soon.
Thank you.
So something that I've heard from my grandparents is that us Anishinaabe people were skilled negotiators and treaty makers. We were so skilled that we didn't have to argue or go to war, or we didn't have to battle. We were able to communicate and be able to make good choices peaceful choices that was beneficial for all people, where both sides of the parties got to have what they wanted. And also that, you know, during the when they first signed the treaties, all Anishinaabe laws were in place, our 7 sacred teachings, right? And something that kind of follows that I heard recently that really did inspire me is you have to follow your 7 sacred teachings at all times, because if you don't do that, then that's when you start learning your lessons, right? You have to carry that honesty, that love, that humility, all our 7 sacred teachings. And not only that, us Anishinaabe people, I like to, maybe in a present term, like we are economists. We were economists. We are, and more of us, as we reclaim our culture and our traditions, and we focus on being sovereign and fighting and continuing fighting for that sovereignty, that we will always be economists, which is, you know, progressing our socioeconomic development, which is a really great thing that Treaty 1 is doing right now. So that's something that, like, you know, I was always passed down through that's something that I was always passed down through my grandparents, is to just kind of remind that we are resilient, and we are very brilliant people and very, very strong people. It's just that when the treaties were signed, there was a written version and there was an oral treaty presentation. When I speak Anishinaabe, I don't know if you know the language, if you're fluent or not, but there's words in Anishinaabe that aren't in English. And there's words that are in English that aren't in Anishinaabe, right? We don't come from the same root language. Anishinaabe comes from the Algonquin root. English comes from Latin, right? When you say the word love, Zagiduin, it's not, you know, I love ice cream. That doesn't, like, do you understand the definition in English? You can say love to a lot of things. I love this pen. But when you say it in Anishinaabe, it really does translate to something or someone you share everything with. I don't share everything with this pen, but something I do share everything with is with my mother. I tell my mother when I'm angry or sad or happy. Any news, good or bad news, right? I love my mother. That's the definition of love in Anishinaabe, and it's a little bit different. But not only that, something that I've heard passed down to me is that, you know, something that we know is that there was interpreters being used during the treaty negotiations, and sometimes they would twist words, or else they wouldn't be able to translate certain words. So there was communication barriers, and that really did affect us a lot. There was the buffalo incident, right? We agreed to share resources, we agreed to share together, but it tricked us. You know, the other party tricked us because we started becoming dependent of them. A big example is the buffaloes. Buffaloes were almost extinct at one point. And before, you know, colonization, they were everywhere and they were our prime source. It was like our Walmart, right? All of our food, our tools, our clothing, it was all from the buffaloes. And if you were to look at Google and look at, like, you know, what happened to the population, to you know, the animal itself, is that they started killing them so that we would start becoming dependent of them, depending on their resources, their agriculture, their tools, their food, right? We would become less independent ourselves. And there's even you see that today too, with even the child welfare system. There's a lot of our kids in the child welfare system, and it's and I can see that a lot of the leaders, they're trying to fight for our own sovereignty, sovereignty in that. Also, you know, right now, today, when we think about the treaty document and when we try to state facts, you have this document written by one side of the party that wasn't included with the other one. And Anishinaabe, our people, we didn't have a written document. The way how we passed down our teachings, the way how we passed down, you know, our histories through stories, which is different than, you know, the non-Indigenous peoples. We didn't have pen and paper or typewriters. We had wampum belts. We've had buffalo robes with our syllabics. But, you know, all of our teaching is passed down through oral treaty or oral presentations. And also, you know, there's also a big misconception too, is that land was never surrendered. It was rather shared between the settlers and, I guess, the Indians, right? And that's something that we need to consider, because, you know, if you look at throughout the years, the amount of land that we have for our population, even though we have the fastest growing population, even though that Canada doesn't even own the land, the right to have our own land, our own sovereign land, our right to hunt and stuff, it's getting smaller and smaller. So what's going to happen? There's already like a high, our housing, if you look at our communities, our housing is, there is a housing crisis. There's like 8 to 10 people living in one house, in a 3-bedroom house. And that's common. So I guess I'm kind of going a little bit off topic here, but there's a lot, I guess, our oral present, our the way how we share stories and the way of our oral presentations, it really does define our side of the story. And what you see that's written on paper defines their side of the story. And it does clash, because as we really tried, I feel like both parties really tried to be in an agreement, but there is also, I guess I want to say, like, tricksters involved, right? And even though when the first, like, when Treaty 1 was signed, when it was done through Anishinaabe ceremony. It wasn't done through, you know, the British Crown way. We had a feast. We had to have a feast. We had to have ceremony. We had to follow protocol. And I like, to me personally, like, to throw out my opinion, I feel like we should really start focusing on the oral side, our side, our intent of treaty, especially if when it came to the treaty signage, it was done our way, not their way.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So for the both of you, is this all stuff that you plan on passing down if you plan on having children, grandchildren? Is this all stuff that you plan on passing down to next generations? We'll start with you, Jaiden.
Well, further in the future, I hope to be just as educated and connect back to my community, and be just as well spoken about it. Like, Emily did a great job, but yeah, of course, like, if I were to have children or grandchildren, like, of course I would continue on, like, to try to teach as much as I could, because I think that's the whole continuing and fixing, I guess, what happened with the whole Catholic Church and the Canadian government. Like, I guess in a way, like, I don't know if it's so controversial to say, but like, making sure that what happened and what their goal was, I guess, in a way, to make sure, I guess, in a way that they didn't, I don't know if I should say it, but like, they didn't win. I guess, in a way. Do you know what I mean? that I guess it continues on, and that we connect the severed ties again. So that's all I have to say about it.
Definitely, because it's our rights. Without treaties, we wouldn't be able to have our own government system. We wouldn't be sovereign. We wouldn't have our own right to education, or even we are first level governance. And without treaties, we wouldn't be first level governance. We would be under municipalities, under fourth level governance. And that's, if we were fourth level governance, our power would be taken away. We're able to go to Ottawa and say, we don't agree with this. And they have no choice but to be like, okay. Right? A lot of people don't realize that having our treaty rights is the ability to have a voice, because we are first level governance. We are tied with the British Crown, and under British Crown is Canada, the federal government, the provincial government, and the municipality government. We are above the municipality, the provincial, and the federal. We are equal to the British Crown. We're equal to the Queen. And a lot of children, a lot of youth don't realize that we actually have more power than we think we do. So I'm definitely going to pass down as much information as I can, because being able to pass down that information is promising our future for future generations to come.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Emily. So this is my last question, and this is or my second last question, I should say, for the both of you. What have young people like yourselves taken away from storytelling and our treaties?
Learning about treaties, and even listening in the communities and listening to the elders speak about treaties, and even our leadership, it really shaped me as a person myself, because it was the opportunity of myself learning about my rights and learning about how unique we are, because there's no other race, there's no other nations except for us in First Nations that have our treaty rights, that have I guess our own sovereignty, our own ability, our own voice. And a simple thing like that, if you were to look at the Canadian government, they fund English, French, but they also fund our native tongue languages. There's how many ethnicities and races in Canada? And the reason why they fund our native tongue languages is because of treaties, because they have to. We are important, right? So it really did shape me as a person, because when I grew up in a rough, I guess, I wouldn't say rough, but I grew up in poverty. I didn't grow up with no silver platter. It was, we lived pretty poor and cheap, and there was a lot of us too. And I got to see addictions quite often, and just the badness, the hurt, the struggle. I seen it all. And to me, I thought, okay, well, when I was younger, I thought that was normal, because it played a role in my subconsciousness, right? I was used to that. But being able to learn about treaties, but not only about treaties, but just stories of our history, of my bloodline, it really did make me feel more resilient, but it made me feel like I'm able to do great things too, because my bloodline did great things. It reminded me, I guess, to kind of just awaken a side of me that I didn't really think that I had, which was confidence. So this past summer, I realized that my younger siblings didn't value their worth. They thought that substance abuse was normal, and they think that, we're probably always going to be poor. We're probably going to be this and that. They had already set the bar, and it was low standards. So what I did is I took them out to see our grandpa, and I took them out to the bush and to events, cultural events. And I helped them learn Anishinaabe, and I asked our family if they could share stories and stuff, even just history. And when it came to these cultural events, I would talk about certain people that we would see, about great things that they did, their achievements. And then I would say, oh yeah, and we're also related to them. Right? So they got to really see, you know, the good side of us. And I feel like as long as you're connected through, you know, your culture and your traditions, your spirituality, your identity, then you start to feel good too, because it's awakening that blood memory, our genetics.
Absolutely. I definitely resonate with you and your family's story. A lot of what I notice amongst my family is we've sort of, to be Indigenous is to exist in poverty, you know, and I carried that idea. Like, if I'm not hood, if I don't live in the West End of Winnipeg, then, you know, then I'm not being true to who I am or true to my community. It's just like these weird narratives you tell yourself growing up. It's really fascinating. Thank you for sharing. Thank you.
I feel that like storytelling, the way that like all the like the oral teachings and stuff, for some reason, like I feel like they're a lot more memorable and they stay on your mind a lot more, the way that the teachings and like are presented to you. I don't know how, like like being in school and stuff, you know, you go through lessons and stuff and it's always like textbook and like this is what happened, but like with oral teachings, they kind of just stay on your mind instead of just like in and then out. But I don't know how it's just, you feel a lot more connected, and when they give you the oral teachings in a storytelling way, like I guess being able to pass it on as a story, especially to like younger like children and stuff, it, I guess, like in a way resonates a lot more when it's in a storytelling form. So
this was a great snapshot into the past and historical storytelling of Treaty 1. Future. Where can people get more information? I'm curious to know, where do you all get information? Who do you follow on Instagram? Who are the IG pages that you like look forward to seeing every day, or media platforms, Indigenous media platforms where you're learning as well?
On Instagram and Facebook, I actually follow Treaty 1 Nation and Treaty T1 DC Development Corp, just because they're always posting about events and stuff and how you can be involved as well, and to be able to connect with the community. And I guess just on Instagram and stuff, I follow a lot of like Indigenous women on Instagram because they're always posting about how they have presentations where they talk about like I guess just their experiences and like what they want for the future. Actually, I follow my my previous youth council leader. She has a lot of good information, Ashley Daniels. And there was another one, I think it was Tia, I can't remember, but like they're very useful. They have a lot of information.
Yeah, you can find a lot of resources about treaty with the Treaty Relations Commissions in Manitoba. They have resources for books. They also have public speakers as well that talk about different areas of treaties. Different topics about treaties, because it is a really big conversation starter. So we could probably talk about treaties for hours and hours. But also, like, if you're an individual from yourself, you know, from a community, I would strongly suggest to go see elders in your local community. Offer tobacco, just a pouch of tobacco to them, and then ask them if they could tell you information about our history of the treaties. That's actually one of the main, I guess, resources that I learned treaties from, is seeking our knowledge keepers. And also even like attending events too, cultural events, or there's a few I guess treaty events, but they're not very common or popular. They don't happen too often. So if you've seen it, go ahead and attend. Also, even like connecting with people who do talk about treaties as well too. Get close with them, ask them questions, bug them. Just kidding. But yeah, definitely those would be resources. Something that we should really do advocate more is to try having our treaty history taught in schools, right? Because we are all treaty people. We are on treaty land. So that's I guess another discussion to follow.
Anybody, who are your favorite people on IG that you follow and connect with?
I like Pam Palmater. She's a lawyer. Yeah. Also, there's Andre Bear. He is around my age. He's a young adult too, and he's becoming a lawyer, but he's very involved in treaty and inherent rights. Yeah. Another person, let me just think on the top of my head. Even Rachel Snow too, because she tells it how it is. She's another lawyer too. She's Stoney Nakota. She's from Alberta. Yeah. And then Andre Bear is from Saskatchewan. And then Pam Palmater, I believe she's from Ontario.
Thank you both so much for being here with me today. Thank you for your time, Jaiden and Emily. For up-to-date information, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn, and check out our website for a list of events. Thank you so much for watching. Miigwech.